welcome. Tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari receives Governors Ademola Adeleke and Yahaya Bello at the Villa. Governor Adeleke says the Electoral Act paved way for his victory in the Osun governorship election. People's Democratic Party raises alarm over alleged plans by ruling All Progressives Congress to postpone the general elections by orchestrating violence in some parts of the country. Presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, Rabiu Kwankwaso, commits to free education if he becomes president as he takes his campaign to the northeast region.
On business news tonight, non-oil sector earnings rise to $4.8 billion in 2022, according to Nigeria Export Promotion Council.
On sports news tonight, FIFA opens disciplinary proceedings against Argentina for offensive behavior exhibited by goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez during their World Cup final triumph over France last month.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, a policeman loses his life in the process of rescuing more victims of the Igweben train attack in Edo State.
And in international news from London, Russia says it has taken control of the Ukrainian salt mine town of Solidar after a months-long battle, calling it an important step for its offensive.
We begin from the presidency, and it's been a busy Friday for President Muhammadu Buhari as he played host to two state governors today. Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State came calling first, and he had kind words for the president for signing the Electoral Act, which he says paved the way for his victory as governor. While Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State was also at the Villa to thank the president for his recent visit to his state. Our State House correspondent Gloria Mizuke reports.
Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State arrives the presidential villa for the first time in his capacity as governor. President Muhammadu Buhari formally receives Governor Adeleke, who was elected under the People's Democratic Party last year. The president promised to consider requests for tax credits and other federal facilities put forward by the governor. In a media chat, the governor hails the president for the electoral law.
Since my election, I feel like I should come and say hello to Mr. President and thank him for signing that electoral act, because I benefited from it. That paved way for free and fair election. And all the international community, they are applauding Nigeria, that Nigeria is set for democracy. So that is why I'm here today, to see him and thank him, and I wish him well.
Separately, Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State is also received in audience by President Buhari. It is a follow-up visit to thank the president since his last visit to the state in December 2022.
You know, when Mr. President assumed office, immediately he assumed office, he quickly hit the ground running in terms of infrastructure, in terms of fighting insecurity, in terms of delivering good governance to the people. By the special grace of God, when I came on board, I have no any other thing to do than to emulate him. And this administration, or his administration by the special grace of God, is going to be more run by the younger generation. And you know surely that the younger generation constituted the number of, the quantum number of voters in this coming election. We're more enlightened, we know exactly. And we know that Bola Ahmed Tinubu knows the road.
Governor Bello aligns his support and beliefs with that of the president for the party's presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is alleging a plot by the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, to compel the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to postpone the 2023 general elections on the ground of insecurity. The spokesperson of the party, Mr. Debo Olugunagba, told journalists at a news conference in Abuja that the ruling party is trying to unsettle preparations for the general elections by orchestrating violence in parts of the country in order to force INEC to postpone the elections. Mr. Olugunagba also gave the party's position on the status of its candidate for the Borno Central Senatorial seat.
Our party, the People's Democratic Party, has been following the many furtive narratives being promoted by the APC with the view to blackmail critical election stakeholders to accede to its design to postpone the 2023 general elections, particularly the February 25 presidential elections. Our party had earlier alerted the nation of a well-oiled plot by the APC to orchestrate security situation and promote circumstances to warrant the postponement of the 2023 general elections by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The PDP therefore charges INEC as an independent institution not to succumb to blackmail. The PDP also demands that security agencies should place APC leaders on watch lists. On the Borno Central District election, Senatorial District election, the PDP states in an unequivocal term that our candidate for the Borno Central election remains Honorable Umara Mohammed Kumalia, as since confirmed in the list of candidates for the 2023 elections as published by INEC.
And for the new Nigeria People's Party's presidential candidate, Mr. Rabiu Kwankwaso, he is promising to introduce free education and revive the economy if he's elected president in next month's election. Mr. Kwankwaso believes his party's popularity is on the rise due to the failure of the major political parties in Nigeria. He was speaking during the NNPP campaign rally for the Northeast states, which took place in Bauchi. He also presented party flags to the party's candidates vying for various positions across the Northeast.
I'm so happy that this party has been accepted by the vast majority of Nigerians, both at home and abroad. And that is why everybody today believes that our party is the only growing party today in this country. We thank God for that. And it's also an opportunity to remind all those who are here and those who are listening to us at home to continue raising the flag of our party, the new Nigeria People's Party.
Staying with party politics, the Anambra State Governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, has emerged the new national leader of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA. Professor Soludo was elected during the meeting of the National Executive Committee, NEC, of the party in Awka, the Anambra State capital, through a unanimous voice vote. The governor and new leader pays glowing tribute to his predecessors, the late Dim Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu and former governor Willie Obiano, while pledging to work actively with all progressives with the aim of attaining national leadership in the country.
To hand over the microphone to the national.
The first political party registered in 2002. 21 years this year as the Progressive is the first political party registered with Progressive in its name. Fortuitously, it's registered as Grand Alliance of Progressives. This is the home for all progressives. So, and now, in its short 21-year history, it has had two leaders previously, and I am humbled to be the third in that line of the line. Here I come. I can only say, without sense of humility, that I want to make just one pledge. And that is that I will walk every day, every minute, every hour, every second with all of you, working with all of you, with our team members progressives in Nigeria to say to them, this is your home. Africa is the home of progressives. This is your home. Through progressives, this is your home. Working with all of you, that this third largest political party in Nigeria will grow from strength to strength to become truly, when Nigeria is ready for true progressive leadership, APGA will be there to offer Nigeria.
Ahead of the general elections, more residents of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, are taking advantage of the extension date for the collection of permanent voter cards at the ward level. Residents say the distribution of PVCs to the 62 wards in the FCT has made the process much easier for intending voters who want to pick up their cards. But they want the electoral umpire to create more awareness on how citizens can know the exact point to pick them up. Meanwhile, the resident electoral commissioner for the FCT, Ms. Yahya Bello, says the commission is partnering with civil society organizations to help the commission with bulk messages to create more awareness.
The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC on Thursday, January 12, 2023, extended the deadline for the collection of permanent voter cards at the ward level by 1 week. And many Abuja residents are taking advantage of this extension to pick up their cards. The devolution of PVC collection points to the 62 political wards in the Federal Capital Territory seems to have decongested the crowd at the collection centers and made the process easier.
It's so easy to get your PVC. Like me, it did not take up to 5 minutes for me to get my PVC.
Of the 13.9 million new PVCs printed by INEC, the Federal Capital Territory is expected to distribute 39,208 voter cards to prospective voters. Although more centers have now been created in the FCT, with the devolution of PVC collection to the political wards, not many citizens are able to identify their pickup points.
It was quite a stressful experience because coming from Apori settlement down to Lagos Street here, I first of all went there thinking I would get it there. Then from there I was directed down to this place. I think INEC should improve the system where you don't have to stress, you don't have to go to the wrong place first, you don't have to miss your way. Yes, stuff like that. And I think other people have similar experiences because I discussed with some people on the queue.
However, the resident electoral commissioner for the FCT says the commission is in partnership with civil society organizations to educate residents on their collection points.
We had initiative and partnership with some CSO, notably Yaga Africa. We developed an SOP so that we can, as well as when we go back to the wars, we can have an SMS and reach people with SMS so that they can know that their card is there, is ready, they can come and collect.
There have been allegations of financial inducement at various PVC collection centers across the country. An allegation the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in a statement says it is investigating. Collection of voter cards will continue at the ward level till January the 22nd, after which it will move to the INEC office in local government councils till January the 29th.
In part two, after the break, Federal High Court in Abuja dismisses suit by People's Democratic Party seeking to disqualify presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, and his running mate, Kashim Shettima. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.
This is what they call 21st century. When my customer say I want to use POS, I will just bring out my phone, open the application, use this, press this code. I don't have anyone using POS anymore.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari receives Governors Ademola Adeleke and Yahya Bello at the Villa. Governor Adeleke says the Electoral Act paved the way for his victory in the Osun governorship election. People's Democratic Party raises alarm over alleged plans by the ruling All Progressives Congress to postpone the general elections by orchestrating violence in some parts of the country. Presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, Rabiu Kwankwaso, commits to free education if he becomes president as he takes his campaign to the northeast region. And Russia's military says it has captured the Ukrainian salt mine city of Soledar after a long battle. To legal matters now. Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court Abuja has dismissed the suit by the People's Democratic Party seeking the disqualification of Bola Tinubu and his vice, Mr. Kashim Shettima, for the 2023 general elections. Delivering judgments, Justice Ekwo dismissed the suit on the ground that the PDP lacked locus standi to institute the suit. In its originating summons, the PDP challenged the validity of Mr. Tinubu to contest for the 2023 presidential election as APC candidate on the ground that Mr. Shettima's nomination as his running mate was in breach of the provisions of sections 29 subsection 1, 33, 35 and 84 subsection 1 and 2 of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended. The PDP had sought an order disqualifying the APC, Mr. Tinubu and Mr. Shettima from contesting the presidential election scheduled for February 25, and also sought an order nullifying their candidacy. But the defendants, in their preliminary objection, urged the court to dismiss the suits for want of jurisdiction. They argued that the PDP lacked the legal right to file the case, which invariably was challenging the political party's decision and its nomination of candidates for the polls. Justice Ekwo agreed with the defendants that the matter bordered on the internal affairs of the APC and subsequently dismissed the suit. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has nullified the primary of the People's Democratic Party for Imo West Senatorial District, which produced Mr. Jones Onyerere as its senatorial candidate. The Apex Court nullified the election on the ground that it was conducted in Owerri, the Imo State capital, instead of Olu, which is the senatorial headquarters of Imo West. The Apex Court also affirmed the nomination of the Deputy Governor of Jigawa State, Mr. Umar Namadi, as the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress for Jigawa State's governorship election.
The Supreme Court comes alive as lawyers and members of the public who have cases of interest are here waiting for the commencement of the day's proceedings. One of such is the People's Democratic Party primary for Imo West Senatorial District. One of the aspirants, Mr. Nnamdi Ezeani, is challenging the emergence of Mr. Jones Onyerere as the candidate. Delivering judgment, Justice Emmanuel Agim nullified the election on the ground that it was conducted in Owerri, the Imo State capital, instead of Olu, which is the headquarters of the senatorial zone. Justice Agim held that since the time for political parties to nominate candidates has already elapsed, the PDP will not participate in the senatorial election on February the 25th. He further warned the parties to always conduct their affairs within the ambit of the law, adding that Section 87, subsection 9 of the Electoral Act is clear on how party primaries should be conducted.
The outcome of the appeal today is that our position was upheld by the Court of Appeal, the Apex Court, affirming that our position all through from the High Court to the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court was right. The court by this judgment has validated, the Apex Court, the Supreme Court by its judgment has validated the immutable principle and provisions of the Electoral Act that any primary election of a party must be conducted within the designated constituency or senatorial district.
In another election-related case, a panel of 5 justices of the Apex Court dismissed an appeal filed by a former member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Farouk Aliyu, who is challenging the emergence of the Deputy Governor of Jigawa State, Mr. Umar Namadi, as the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress for lack of merit. The judgment, which was prepared by Justice Kekereekun but read by Justice Ibrahim Saulawa, held that he failed to prove the reliefs he sought.
Well, let's head to our Abuja studios where Gloria Mezuke is standing by with more stories. Hi, Gloria. Good to see you.
Thank you, Millicent. Here in Abuja, we begin in Edo State, where the government has confirmed the death of a policeman, DSP Michael Adams, in the course of a successful rescue operation at Igweben local government area, one of the rescued victims. include the president of Igwebe Area Customary Court, Precious Agbonogwa, the Edo State Commissioner for Communications and Orientation, Mr. Chris Nehikare, who disclosed this during a briefing in Benin City, the state capital, also added that 2 more victims have been rescued from Saturday's Igwebe train station attack, where several persons were abducted.
The rescue of the magistrate of the customary court that was kidnapped a few days ago by our gallant police officers after a great job was done. Unfortunately, the release led to the death of one of our very gallant officers, Mr. DSP Adam Michael, who's from Bayelsa State, married with 2 daughters, and was attached to the anti-kidnapping squad. He was just 34 years old. We are particularly proud of the bravery of this young officer, the way he conducted the operation, and the victim was successfully extracted, and I think the kidnappers were also neutralized. None of our people sustained any injuries in the operation. We still have a few cases to solve of kidnapping here in Edo. I think the one that we've all been following especially is the kidnap from the station, the Igwebe train station. I'm also pleased to report that 2 more victims have been rescued from the Igwebe train station issue.
At least 30 kidnapped victims have been rescued in Nasarawa State by troops of 177 Guards Battalion in conjunction with troops of Operation Wild Stroke and the Civilian Joint Task Force in the state. A spokesman of the Army, Captain Godfrey Abakwa, who confirmed this in a statement issued to journalists in Abuja, said 2 bandits were also killed in the operation. He stated that the rescue was based on credible, actionable intelligence on bandits and kidnappers' enclaves in the general area of Idu Chikara, along the boundaries of Toto local government area of Nasarawa State, Abaji FCT, and Cotton Karfe, Kogi State, where the troops conducted offensive operations. He said the troops also recovered 1 rapid-propelled grenade tube from the criminals and several military uniforms. The rescued civilians have been profiled by the Nigeria Police Division in Toto local government, where the state government has facilitated their safe reunion with their communities and families, respectively. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Ehanire, is canvassing for universal health coverage for all Nigerians. Dr. Ehanire believes that health reforms are a continuous work in progress, hence the need to seek for rather practical ways to fund quality healthcare and make it affordable to ordinary Nigerians. Dr. Ehanire, who made the case at a health policy dialogue by members of the All Progressives Congress aimed at repositioning the healthcare sector, also urged the coming administration to put in place sustainable health financing mechanisms that will ensure that the majority of Nigerians can access Medicare to reduce health poverty.
The objective of all, at least all reasonable government programs is to build a universal health coverage that will provide for at least 90, if not 100% of the population, and provide geographic, that is to say physical, and also financial access to health care, which will not surprise you, I believe, is missing in probably 50% of the population of Nigeria today. There are many people who have absolutely no access, who are excluded from health services. So no matter how strong and how large the hospitals are in the cities, if half of the population are not even able to see a nurse, we have a big problem. And apart from universal health coverage, we should offer a basic minimum package of health services to citizens, even in remote and rural areas, so that they do not suffer financial hardship. The other commitment is to continuously commit to improving the quality of care at all levels, from primary to tertiary and to specialized hospitals.
The Adamawa State Governor Umaru Fintiri is asking Nigerians to blame politicians for creating an atmosphere of doubt when it comes to sensitive issues like the development of their people. Governor Fintiri made the remark while flagging off the Bekaji housing estate roads in Yola, the Adamawa State capital. The governor laments that when empty promises dominate the political space, trust takes flight, leaving citizens with no option than to keep their leaders in doubt.
When the PDP-led administration of Umaru Fintiri flagged off the construction of the Bekaji roads in August last year, skeptics saw it as a white elephant project, considering the timing. But today, Governor Fintiri, his deputy, Crowther Seth, and other officials are here to witness the commissioning of the Bekaji chain of roads located in the heart of Yola, the Adamawa State capital, to the excitement of the residents as the governor applauds the speed at which the project was completed.
As a government, we are proud of all the projects on our scorecard because each project is a product of carefully thought out process that is born out of the desire of our people and the developmental needs of the state. I'm especially proud of the reconstruction of the Bekaji Housing Estate Road, not because of the artistic and beauty it confers on our urbanization drive, but its landmark status in easing vehicular movement within the estate. It is fundamentally an epical project because of its history.
I want to urge the residents of Bekaji Housing Estate.
The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Works, discloses that the 6.7-kilometer long road was awarded at the cost of 1.7 billion naira with a completion period of 12 months, but it was achieved within 5 months. He urges residents to take ownership of the project by ensuring its maintenance.
I want to urge the residents of Bekaji Housing Estate to watch over these laudable projects by keeping the drains free of waste, refuse, and allow the effective utilization of the facility, as this is a very huge investment that was made by this government.
High point of the event is the commissioning of the roads by the Emir of Mubi, His Royal Highness Abubakar Hamadu. Constructed in 1981, Bekaji Housing Estate has 12 well-planned road network, but for over 41 years, the roads deteriorated. With this commissioning, the people can now heave a sigh of relief following the transformation delivered by the Umaru Fintiri-led administration.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, non-oil sector earnings rise to $4.8 billion in 2022. But that's according to the Nigeria Export Promotion Council. That's on Business News. We're John Segar.
Welcome back to Lagos. We head to River State, where the governor, Nyesom Wike, has flagged off the construction of a road in the Abua-Odua local government area of the state, where he had threatened to sack his commissioner for works if the contractor failed to mobilize to the site. Governor Wike issued the order last week while flagging off the construction of a road in the area. With the compliance by the contractor, the governor returned to the area to flag off the 8.16-kilometer road that connects at least 5 communities to the urban center.
Governor Nyesom Wike is in Abua-Odua local government area to officially flag off a road project of 8.16 kilometers with a drainage system. The access road, according to the Commissioner for Works, which cuts across 5 communities in the Abua axis of the local government, including Emo, Iyak, Ilok and Igbolom, was first constructed in the 1970s, and a recent attempt to reconstruct it was abandoned. However, he gives an assurance on the project.
Previously, the road had been stone-based up to chainage 2+500. And currently, the Monsieur's Lubric construction has commenced clearing works from chainage 3+000 up to chainage 8+160.
The chairman of Abua Odua local government thanked the governor and promised the people's support for the Wike administration and the PDP for more goodwill.
We are always grateful to you because without you, these people will continue to be suffering, no way to bring their food out to sell.
His Excellency, Nyesom Ezenwa Wike.
Governor Wike walks to the podium and also joins the council chairman in canvassing for votes for the PDP for other roads and bridges to be constructed by his successor.
We have built schools, which any other person may have done, but this was very, very important to us. And I believe by the time you vote for us, the governorship election, the House of Assembly, the Senate and the House of Reps, obviously my successor have no choice but to link you up with bridges so all of you will be together.
And the official flag off is performed by Governor Wike. Residents of Abua Odua local government will now look forward to the road project with much optimism, even as they expect more development in their area long after Governor Nyesom Wike's tenure.
To other stories, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has classified 52 ministries, departments and agencies of government as high corruption risk for failing to respond to the Ethics and Integrity Compliance Scorecard, EICS, deployed in 2022 by the Commission. The ICPC, in a statement on its official Twitter handle, stressed that the listed MDAs have been flagged for the attention of the public and for further inquiries and actions. A breakdown of the report shows that 52 agencies scored 0 in the ranking, which means they did not respond to inquiries on them. Some of those in the category include the Federal Ministry of Education, the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, the National Bureau of Statistics, and the National Pension Commission. Others on the list are the Center for Women Development, the National Broadcasting Commission, and the Assets Management Corporation of Nigeria. The ICPC also disclosed that 41 MDAs were undergoing corruption investigations, while 22 MDAs are being investigated for tax infractions. We're off now to some business news. Here's Anne Wilder.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. $4.8 billion, that's the total amount recorded as earnings for the non-oil sector in the year 2022. According to the Nigeria Export Promotion Council, this figure represents an increase of 39.9%, and that's when you compare it to 2021. The Executive Director of the Nigeria Export Promotion Council, Ezra Yukasak, explains that the figures were generated from a total of 214 products, ranging from manufacturing, semi-processed, solid minerals, and raw agricultural products.
It is cheering to note that despite the harsh economic environment precipitated by the effect of COVID-19 and global economic recession, the sector recorded a significant and highly impressive result with a non-oil export earnings of $4.820 billion recorded for the year under review. This represented an increase of 9.91% over 2021. May I categorically emphasize that these figures represent data collected from the various pre-shipment inspection agents appointed by the federal government of Nigeria under the Pre-Shipment Inspection Act P25 Laws of the Federation, 2004. Gentlemen of the press, I'm glad to inform you that this result is the highest value ever achieved since the establishment of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council 47 years ago. This current result lends credence to the fact that the several export intervention programs or projects initiated and executed by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council and other sister agencies during the year under review are gradually yielding the desired results.
Information coming from Startup Database on Deals shows that Nigeria and other African countries raised $4.85 billion in the year 2022. And out of that, Nigerian startups raised a venture capital funding of $1.2 billion in that same year. According to Adebola Omololu, the CEO, Get Funded Africa, Africa attracted more funding compared to other continents, and in 2023 is starting on a high note.
2023 has started off very interestingly. I should say just yesterday, one of the startups, a Tunisian startup specifically, InstaDeep, run by my friend Karim, they actually sold, their company got purchased, InstaDeep got purchased for almost slightly over $700 million. That's just one company, but that gives it kind of like shows you what's to come, because essentially one of the key factors for funding is investors want to make sure that down the line they can actually exit. And so when InstaDeep exits for over $700 million, it immediately tells people that, hey, Africa is here for business. And this is one of the factors that we think are going to form, what to come in Africa and funding in startups in 2023.
Let's talk about UK's economy, which recorded an unexpected growth in the month of November, boosted by the World Cup, and that's according to official figures. The economy grew by 0.1%, helped by demand for services in the tech sector. That's despite rising prices. The Office for National Statistics says that the pubs and restaurants all boosted growth as people went out to watch the football. However, it is still unclear whether soaring costs will tip the UK into recession. The November increase marks a slowdown from 0.5% rise in October, which was largely due to bounce back from businesses shuttering the mark Queen Elizabeth II's funeral in September. Let's talk about more data coming from Startup Database on Deals. It shows that African countries raised $4.82 billion. But let's head to the equities market now, which also recorded 3 straight days of gains as the all-share index rose today by 0.89%. Laddie Williams tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. It's Friday the 13th, and the superstition about this date is definitely not weighing on this market. We see a bullish close for the week, 0.89%. See the all-share index there, 52,512.48 points. We see market cap, 28.602 trillion naira. If we look at the activity chart there, we see some buying pressure more than what we had yesterday. We see the volume there, so up about 2.56%, and we see the value still in the red, continue from yesterday, 2.43 billion naira. We see deals up about 32% at 4,472 deals. Let's look at the top gainers counter. Linkashore, that's top in the counter there, up 10%, 44 kobo. And we see Total there at the energy sector, that's up 10% at 212 naira. So this with the MTN Nigeria also gaining, and that's why we have the bull dominating affairs this week. Let's look at the losers counter now. We see it's Lasako top in that counter. It's down 10% at 99 kobo. And again, widely positive market breadth, 36 gainers versus 12 decliners. We'll be getting that inflation data for December 2022. That's next week. We'll see how that shapes investor sentiment going forward. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. It's back to you.
And And that's Business News for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. Have a wonderful weekend. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Anne. And just before we bring you some international news, President Muhammadu Buhari has asked leaders of the Global South to agree on a common agenda on ways to reduce the increasing burden of debt and inflation in that region of the world. Speaking during a Global South virtual summit, the president expressed optimism that the meeting hosted by India in its capacity as the voice of the South will address issues of climate change, food security, and access to energy. President Buhari noted that the Global South is driven by historical ties and a sense of deep solidarity in pursuit of bridging the gap between the South and the North. He further hailed India's emergence as voice of the Global South, considering the role the country played during its two-year terms at the United Nations Security Council and the humanitarian gesture it extended during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Excellencies, it is in line with the vision One Earth, One Family, One Future that India calls for this summit, bringing together leaders of the South to share their perspectives and priorities on a common platform ahead of the G20 summit later this year. Nigeria is in full support of this noble initiative and hope that the outcome of the summit will be given top priority at G20 meetings. This huge debt burden has significantly derailed many countries' development plans. The effect of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict has further aggravated the situation. In this regard, I wish to advise fellow leaders to agree on a common agenda to enable us to put forward our collective demands to the global North through India as voice of the South. Excellencies, to conclude my remarks, I would urge India to further intensify efforts to facilitate the flow of foreign direct investment to the global South using its leverage as president of G20.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari. To some international news now, Russia's military says it has captured the Ukrainian salt mine town of Soledar after a long battle, calling it an important step for its offensive. A spokesman says the victory would allow Russian troops to push on to the nearby city of Bakhmut and cut off the Ukrainian forces there. But Ukrainian officials say the fight for Soledar is still on, accusing Russia of information noise. Well, Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Russia says it has taken control of Ukrainian salt mine town Soledar after a months-long battle, calling it an important step for its offensive. The Defense Ministry said victory would allow Russian troops to cut off Ukrainian supply routes in the nearby larger city of Bakhmut. Ukrainian officials said the fight for Soledar was still going on. The fighting around the city has been some of the bloodiest of the war. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said barely any walls remain standing in the town. Describing almost apocalyptic scenes, he spoke of the nearby terrain as scarred by missile strikes and littered with Russian corpses. The seizing of Soledar would likely be hailed as a victory in Moscow after months of failures and setbacks in Russia's 10-month war. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has accused ex-leader Jair Bolsonaro's allies of aiding the attack on the presidential palace. Lula said he was convinced supporters of Mr. Bolsonaro inside the palace had been complicit by allowing rioters to enter key state buildings, and he vowed to carry out a thorough screening of palace employees in the wake of the attempted insurrection. Some 1,500 people have already been detained in connection with the attacks. At least 6 people have died in central Alabama after thunderstorms and at least 1 tornado swept through the region. Dramatic security camera footage from Moulton captured the moment a roof was blown off by the tornado. Drone footage shows the extent of the damage. The roofs of several buildings had been blown off and debris scattered around congested streets. According to a study by Peking University, some 900 million people in China have been infected with the coronavirus as of the 11th of January. The report estimates that 64% of the country's population has the virus. It ranks Gansu province, where 91% of the people are reported to be infected, at the top, followed by Yunnan and Qinghai. A top Chinese epidemiologist has also warned that cases will surge in rural China over the Lunar New Year. Ethiopia's defence forces say allies with the federal government during the civil war against fighters from Tigray have started withdrawing from the Tigrayan city of Shire and other regions. It comes as Tigrayan fighters earlier this week began handing over their weapons in line with a peace agreement to end the war. Tigrayan forces have been demanding the withdrawal of forces from Amhara and neighbouring Eritrea from the region. However, there is still no indication if Eritrean troops will follow. Authorities on the Indonesian island of Bali say they have rescued 43 endangered green sea turtles during a routine Navy operation where they stumbled across poachers out at sea. The Chelonia midas, a green turtle species that is protected in Indonesia, were brought to a naval base and were being looked after by wildlife officials. Indonesia has become a hub of international trafficking of marine turtles, feeding demand from countries like Malaysia, Vietnam and China. The population of green turtles has been on a significant decline in recent years. Officials said the rescued turtles will later be released back into the wild. And expert ice sculptors have braved the bitter cold this week in the Russian city of Perm to battle it out to create stunning artwork in the coldest conditions the city's competition has ever seen. Some 8 teams from Russia and Belarus honed their icy masterpieces in sub-zero temperatures over several days, not even stopping with temperatures of minus 37 degrees Celsius. Russia's snow and ice sculpture tournament has been held in Perm near the Ural Mountains since 2007. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Now time for some sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Sports News. World Football Governing Body FIFA has opened disciplinary proceedings against Argentina for offensive behavior during their World Cup final triumph over the Les Bleus of France last month. Now, the South Americans defeated the Europeans on penalties in Qatar after a dramatic 3-3 draw. Argentina goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez made a lewd gesture with his goalkeeper of the tournament trophy after the match before being filmed in the dressing room mocking France forward Kylian Mbappe. FIFA said Argentina had potentially breached rules regarding offensive behavior and violations of the principles of fair play and misconduct of players and officials. Arsenal FC manager Mikel Arteta says his players are in a really good emotional state ahead of Sunday's North London derby as they aim to avenge last season's painful defeat at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The Gunners went down 3-0 in May last year as they chased qualification for a top 4 spot, with Spurs eventually finishing in the Champions League qualification places instead. Arteta said there were a lot of things to learn from that game.
It's one of the biggest games of the season for us. We know how much it means right now for us on the table, and how much it means to our people as well. But we just have to focus on playing well and doing what we have to win the game. Sometimes they approach games in different ways. Sometimes they are very aggressive from the beginning. Sometimes they allow you to make the game, and they have a lot of tools to use to cause you problems. So let's see. We have to start to see what the game develops. We'll prepare for any occasion the best possible way, and then it will be left to the players to do what they have to do on the pitch.
Meanwhile, Arsenal skipper Martin Odegaard has been voted the Premier League Player of the Month for November and December. Odegaard becomes only the second Norwegian to win the accolade after Manchester City forward Erling Haaland earned the August prize. Odegaard produced 3 goals and 3 assists across November and December, the most goal involvements by any Premier League player in this time. A jury in the UK has cleared Manchester City and France defender Benjamin Mendy of 6 counts of rape and 1 of sexual assault against 4 women following a 6-month trial. Now, the 7 men and 4 women on the panel failed to reach verdicts on a 7th charge of rape and 1 of attempted rape. The prosecutors said afterwards they would seek a retrial on those counts. Mendy's co-accused, Louis Sahar Maturi, has been found not guilty of 3 charges. He faces a retrial on 6 more charges in September. Papa Diak's appeal against his conviction over a scheme to hide Russian doping has begun in Paris, with the son of the former head of global athletics absent. Diak, whose father Lamine Diak headed World Athletics from 1999 to 2015, was one of 6 men convicted in 2020 for covering 23 Russian doping offenses in exchange for Russian sponsorship contracts. As a result, the athletes were able to compete at the 2012 Olympics and 2013 World Championships in Moscow. Diak was sentenced to 5 years in prison and fined €1 million. The proceedings are scheduled to end next Thursday. The World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, has insisted that Russian figure skater prodigy Kamila Valieva has not been sanctioned by the Russian Anti-Doping Agency, which found she bore no fault or negligence for a positive drugs test before the Beijing Winter Olympics last year. WADA said it was concerned by this conclusion of the Russian Disciplinary Tribunal and specified that it will not hesitate to exercise its right of appeal before the Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS. Valieva, who was 15 at the time, became the first female skater to land a quadruple jump in Olympic competition last February, helping the Russians secure gold in the team event. And that's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun's back to you.
Thank you, Ayotunde. And the main news again. Governor Ademola Adeleke today commended President Muhammadu Buhari for signing the Electoral Act, which he said paved the way for his victory in the Osun governorship election. Governor Adeleke was speaking after he visited the president at the villa for the first time since he became governor. And that's your news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Melissa Tonwaka. Have a good night. A great weekend.